If you're planning to start your own trucking company in Canada, you need to have a good understanding of all the licensing and permit requirements in Canada as well as the US. Even if you want to work as a truck dispatcher in a trucking company, or you want to start your own independent truck dispatching business, or you want to work in the freight brokerage industry, you need to have a good understanding of all the trucking authorities and permits, as you will be dealing with these permits almost on a daily basis. Hello everyone, my name is Kamal, and in today's video, I will be talking in detail about all the trucking authorities and permits. So let's get started. Also, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you find this video useful. Before you plan to start your own trucking company, the first thing you have to check is the trucking insurance requirements, because that's one of the biggest challenge which most people face before they plan to start their own trucking company. Every province in Canada has different rules and regulations regarding the insurance requirements. In some provinces like Ontario, it is harder to get trucking insurance, or the insurance cost can be very high. So you might want to talk to few insurance brokers in your area who deal with trucking insurance and try to get an insurance quote before you plan to start a trucking company. Let's talk about the trucking authorities and permits in detail now. So the first step is to incorporate your business or business registration. You can either do it yourself or take the help of your accountant. If you're an owner-operator, you would already have an incorporation. Next permit that you need depends on the province you are in. If you're in Ontario, you will have to apply for a CVOR certificate. So CVOR stands for Commercial Vehicle Operators Registration Certificate. If you are in Quebec, you will have to apply for an NIR certificate. If you're in any other province like Alberta, BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, or any other provinces, you will have to apply for an NSC number, and you will actually get a safety fitness certificate, which will have your NSC number on it. CVOR, NIR or NSC is basically the safety and compliance record of a trucking company and monitors all collisions, convictions, and all roadside inspections data. If your company's safety ratings go down, it can lead to ministry interventions, increase your insurance premiums, and many freight brokers and shippers can choose not to work with your company. Some provinces also have knowledge test requirements to get the certificate. The cost and application process also varies from province to province. Like I mentioned earlier, you would also need trucking insurance. So insurance would typically include, so let me just write it down here, will basically include your auto liability, your general liability, and your cargo coverage. So it's basically takes care of any cargo loss while transporting the goods. If you're limiting your trucking operations within your province, then you need to register your trucks within province and you should be good to go. However, if you're planning to send your trucks outside your province, let's say Canada-wide or even Canada and US, then you should be aware of IRP and IFTA as well. So I will mention about IRP here and IFTA. IRP stands for International Registration Plan. So IRP is a North American agreement for distribution of commercial registration fees amongst all the 10 provinces of Canada and all the US states except Alaska and Hawaii. You will contact your prorate office in your province to apply for these IRP, or what we call as prorate plates. You will also get a single registration document called as cab card when you pick up these plates. Basically, what you're doing is you're paying the registration fees in your province, and your province will keep their share and distribute the remaining registration fees to all the participating Canadian provinces and the US states. Now your truck is basically authorized to travel in all these provinces and states. When you renew these plates after a year, basically the renewal fees will depend on the distance that you travel in all these participating provinces in Canada and the states in the US, and also how much weight permit do you have for all these different provinces and states. You can easily recognize these trucks under the IRP system on the highways, as you will see PRP or a portion written on these plates. Let me show it to you here. Now IFTA stands for International Fuel Tax Agreement. It's a cooperative agreement between the same US states and Canadian provinces we discussed under the IRP system. So basically all the 10 provinces of Canada and all the US states except Alaska and Hawaii. So I'll just mention it here. IFTA makes it easier for motor carriers to report and pay taxes on the fuel they use. You need to apply for IFTA permit in your base jurisdiction, and you will have to get a pair of IFTA decals for each truck, and these decals should be displayed on both sides of the truck. So let me show you a little picture of the decals here. Every quarter, all carriers need to report in their base jurisdiction the total distance traveled and total fuel purchased in each of the participating provinces and states, based on which total fuel tax is calculated. These days, ELDs or electronic logging devices are an accurate way to get the IFTA distance for your trucks, and fuel purchase information you can easily get from the fuel receipts or fuel card statements, which most companies use. In our truck dispatch and freight broker training sessions, we also show you how the IFTA tax is calculated. Now, if you plan to go to the US, you will also have to apply for a US MC DOT number. MC number, which is a motor carrier number, and DOT number is issued by FMCSA. FMCSA, so which is basically your Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which is actually a regulatory body under the US Department of Transportation that regulates the trucking industry in the US. To get your MC-DOT number approved, there are some other conditions that need to be fulfilled, like the insurance requirements, then you have to do a BOC3 filing. BOC3 filing, basically BOC3 stands for blanket of coverage, and I have just mentioned some details here about this which you can read through. You also have to pay for your UCR fees. UCR is your Unified Carrier Registration fees, which has to be paid once every year based on the size of your fleet. So this is done, UCR is done, and besides getting MC-DOT certificate, you also need to know that there are 4 states in the US where you require additional permits, and those states are New York, Kentucky, New Mexico, and Oregon. So if you plan to send your trucks to any of these 4 states, you will have to apply for separate permit from all these different states. And not only that, you will also have to file taxes separately for these states besides filing the IFTA taxes. So typically you will file it every quarter. You should also be aware of pre-employment drug and alcohol testing requirements for all the commercial drivers, including the new drug clearinghouse program started by FMCSA in January 2020. Which is an online database of commercial driver drug and alcohol violations. Beside all these permits, there are also additional requirements if you're hauling hazmat, or if you're hauling tobacco alcohol, or any other regulated goods. So oversized and over dimensional loads has additional permit requirements. For transporting freight across Canada and the US border, you should also apply for carrier code, which will be issued by CVOR, and you also need to apply for a SCAC code, which is required for the CBP, that is the Customs and Border Protection Agency in the US. I will be discussing about border crossing process, which also includes talking about the PARS and PAPS labels that are used for border crossing process in a separate video. If you plan to work with the US companies, you will also need to apply for FEIN number, or we simply call it as EIN number. This EIN number is issued by IRS, which is the Internal Revenue Services in the US. FEIN stands for Federal Employer Identification Number. We talk in detail about EIN in our truck dispatch training sessions when we discuss about the load booking process with the US-based freight brokers. So just to summarize, so today we discussed about incorporation, that is a business registration if you want to start your trucking company. We discussed about CVOR if you are in Ontario, NIR if you're in Quebec, and NSC number for all other provinces. We discussed about the insurance requirements. We discussed about IRP, and we discussed about IFTA. We also discussed about MCDOT number, which is issued by FMCSA. We also discussed about BOC3 filing. We discussed about other insurance requirements for getting your MCDOT number. We discussed about UCR fees that you have to pay, and then we discussed about New York, Kentucky, New Mexico, and Oregon permits if you plan to send your trucks there. Drug and alcohol testing requirements if you want to send your drivers to the US. We briefly discussed about additional permits if you're doing hazmat or any other regulated loads, or maybe oversized or over-dimensional loads. And we also discussed about carrier code, SCAC code, and finally we discussed about the FEIN or the EIN number from IRS. So you see, this was quite a long list. If you need more information about trucking permits and authorities, feel free to email us at info@tracadium.com, or you can also call us at 437-900-2050. You could also join one of our live online or in-person truck dispatch and freight brokerage training course, where we discuss in detail about all the trucking permits and authorities, and also a lot of other modules that cover about different aspects of business planning in the trucking industry. Do like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you do not want to miss any of our future videos. See you soon, stay safe and healthy. Take care.